Tom Homan was making the rounds on the talk shows yesterday, some of them, in response in part to that anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. And more generally, the threat that foreign nationals on American soil who have bad intentions pose as ICE is working to remove people who are public safety threats just as quickly as they can with the resources they have. And now add to the caseload. It's not specific to ICE, but it needs to be a collaborative law enforcement effort. Federal agents arresting a University of Michigan scholar from China on charges she tried to smuggle a biological pathogen into the United States, characterized as a potential agricultural terrorism weapon that could be used for targeting food crops. Both her and her boyfriend were arrested and charged in an FBI counterintelligence case.
Right. So as the crops grow, they're poisons with mycotoxins, and that can not only destroy the crops like wheat, rice, soy, corn, but also it can sicken animals and humans with almost impossible to trace the illnesses.
So the issue is, one, these individuals in our institutions of alleged higher education. And number two, other issues that have been raised before, like Chinese communist connected Chinese nationalists who are buying up farmland or buying up land near military bases. You've had some action on the topic at state level action in places like Florida under Governor Ron DeSantis, but perhaps this needs to be revisited nationally. Tom Homan, on the prospect of domestic terrorist attacks.
It's coming. Why did 2 million illegal aliens pay more to get away? They could have paid half of what they paid, cross the border, turn yourselves into a border agent, get released that same day, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, plus free medical care and work authorization. 2 million people paid more to get away. They didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. Why? This scares the hell out of me. I've been doing this for 40 years. It should have scared the hell out of every American what the Biden administration did. This 2 million known gotaways scares the hell out of me. So I'm convinced something's coming unless we can find him.
Well, as for that flamethrower jihadist, he has 5 children, which I'm sure they used our resources, sent to public school, healthcare, entitlement programs, and he hates America, hates us, hates Jewish Americans. And he posed as a gardener and all that, but his kids, in order to perform the attack, but his kids and his wife are on a list to be expedited, to be deported as soon as possible.
James Gagliano is a retired FBI supervisory special agent and a doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's. He also served as mayor of Village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Well, Dan and Amy, it's good to talk to you again. I wish it was under different circumstances, but here we go again.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss.
Well, so the 2 million gotaways, that scares the hell out of Tom Homan. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I served for the FBI down in Mexico City as a legal attaché in 2013 and 2014. And again, it's not the humble family that's trying to cross the border, our southern border, trying to make a better life. It was the concerns that Iran, Russia, North Korea, and China, bad state actors, would put people in that mix and get them across the border. Tom Homan is absolutely right. What happened the last 4 years with Porus does not even tell the tale of the 2,000-mile stretch between us and Mexico. And again, we're not worried about the humble landscaper that's trying to come across and make some money to help his family out. It's these bad state actors. And yeah, I don't think his words, Dan, were hyperbolic. I think he's right on point.
Well, on the matter of these 2 Chinese nationals in Michigan,
University of Michigan.
So one is a citizen of China who received a doctorate degree in plant pathogens. Investigators say they've discovered information describing her membership in and loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. Prosecutors said she received money from a Chinese foundation, largely funded by the Chinese Communist Party, to conduct postdoctoral work, including research on this fungus that can cause disease and death. So the point here is to say, there's been a hue and cry in response to Marco Rubio moving in the direction of revoking the student visas of Chinese nationals at places like Harvard. But does there need to be more scrutiny about who's coming into this country as either an academic or as a student? It seems to me that the University of Michigan scholar, the woman, at minimum, should have been flagged before she ever got here and began her illicit activity.
Yeah, well said. And I'll put my academic hat on just for a second as a professor at St. John's University and a doctoral candidate. Here's the issue. We are becoming the architects of our own demise. I mean, look at Harvard. 1/3 of their student body are international students. Now, we all can argue and believe that this adds the diversity and the cultural tapestry that, the academic experience is, and we need to make sure that we diversify and we see other sides of things. It's the ideological bent, 90 to 95% on college campuses in one direction. We know which direction that is unhealthy. And I said that a second ago. We're becoming the architect of our own demise. You think the Communist Party in China cares about Western values? No. Do you think Putin and Russia care about Western values and Western democracy? No. You think Iran and North Korea do? No. They want to show that this fragile experiment, this, little over 2.5 centuries of the American experience is a fraud, and we are helping perpetuate that by bringing these folks in, allowing them to go to school on our campuses and foment and incite riots. We saw it the last couple of months. Look what happened when the Pennsylvania governor was almost burned and immolated in his own home. Mm-hmm. We saw it happen a couple of weeks ago in D.C., where 2 young members of the Israeli embassy staff in D.C. were shot and murdered in cold blood. And we saw it in Boulder, Colorado a couple of days ago, where an Egyptian national who is here less than 3 years, so came in under the Biden administration, brings his family over, applies for asylum, and then decides he's going to attack and hurt and kill Jewish people in Colorado. It's insanity.
And he'd been planning the attack for a year, and he waited until his youngest daughter graduated from high school. So he knew darn well what he was doing. And, he's going to have to serve his time and then get deported, or can we just get rid of him when we get rid of his family?
No, get rid of him. He committed a crime on American soil. He served your time here. So we make sure what happens to him. How can we trust what would happen in Egypt? Are you kidding?
Yeah, he's going to be lucky to serve time here, because in Egypt, the way that they dispense quote-unquote justice over there. So he's going to be lucky. Now, his family does need to go back because, again, they're here on a visa, and we are becoming the architects of our own demise, where we're importing people that don't believe in what we're doing, and yet at the same time apply for asylum here because of oppression and persecution in the country that they're fleeing. Guys, you cannot make it up. The jokes just write themselves.
On the FBI, this report that was released by Chuck Grassley, or declassified EC, electronic communication, dating from September of 2019, which Grassley maintains proves that Fusion GPS contractor Nellie Orr, who was the wife of number 3 at DOJ, and break out your Russian collusion scorecards. Bruce Orr was number 3 at Department of Justice under Merrick Garland in the previous regime. That Nellie Orr lied to Congress about contributions to Crossfire Hurricane. So we have a question about why Nellie Orr was never prosecuted for perjury. But even more important, the electronic communication explained that the FBI's Sentinel case management system allows investigative material to be coded prohibited access, quote unquote, prohibited access, which renders the files not merely inaccessible to other agents, but invisible to them. Additionally, Mueller's team designated the Trump-Russia collusion investigations prohibited access in this case management system, meaning any agents running a keyword search in Sentinel would wrongly believe there were no responsive documents. And this raises all sorts of questions about how compliant the FBI was with turning over documents that many FBI agents didn't even know existed. Many members of Congress with oversight responsibilities didn't even know existed. Many of those targeted by Mueller didn't even know existed, and their legal representation. I mean, this is like maybe come across as legalese to some people, but this is like serious stuff here. That and we're just scratching the surface now that we know that this prohibited access demarcation was attached to the Mueller investigation, and all of these questions that I just mentioned, and Margot Cleveland goes through in a very good piece in the Federalist, we don't have answers to at present.
Yeah, and I would say this, I spent 25 years in the FBI. I never, ever, ever, ever heard the term prohibited access. Now, having said that, I entered in 1991. We were still using, typewriters to write up our reports, and we didn't have the Sentinel system, which is a computer system. Hell, we didn't really have computers back then. However, the last 10 years while I was on the job, we did have the Sentinel system. And I don't want to get too inside baseball here, but for your listeners, the Sentinel system is basically a case management system. It allows you to type in keywords and see if somebody that you're looking at or some organization you're looking at is the subject of another case, not just in the FBI, but also outside the FBI. So was this done for nefarious purposes? I cannot say that because, again, I'm unfamiliar with prohibitive access. There are folks that have recently left the FBI that said that did not exist or they knew nothing about it. And it does raise some alarms there. I mean, you talk about Fusion GPS and you talk about, the whole Russian collusion case and how the underpinnings of that case were so shoddy and so faulty and built on a foundation of sand that some reasonable person, remember, the FBI follows the evidence bereft of fear or favor, or so we thought, until people in the FBI decided they were smarter than everyone else. They were going to put their fingers on the scale on the 7th floor at FBI headquarters, which is where all the bosses sit, the Lisa Pages, the Peter Strzok's, the James Comey's, the Andrew McCabe's, and make these decisions that they found a politician to be such an existential threat that they were not going to perform their duties, but do everything they could to take that politician down. I see Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Again, I remain agnostic. I want to see how they're doing. They've only been in place for 100 days, guys. But I'll say this, it is refreshing to see them, the transparency they're showing, the allowance of these documents and these decisions to see the light of day. I think that's a good sign for the FBI and the American Republic.
Well, I agree, but I mean, you also have to, and we'll stick on this, and I assume Patel and Bongino will too, to provide answers now that these questions have been raised. But I mean, just to put not too fine a point on it, at the same time, there's all of this moral indignation over whatever the left thinks Brago Garcia is entitled to in terms of due process, a established MS-13 gangbanger. You had American citizens working in the government, working for a presidential campaign, who potentially were not afforded their due process rights when the Mueller team, FBI, and DOJ came hunting for them, because we don't know if, for example, there was exculpatory evidence that was withheld because of this prohibited access seal that was on it that law enforcement and defense attorneys and members of Congress were unaware of.
Yeah, it's the classic show me the man and I'll show you the crime. And that's not the way it's meant to work. And look, the biggest problem with Crossfire Hurricane, and trust me, it was a case riddled with problems, was the fact that a DOJ attorney lied on an email and stated that there was no indication that Carter Page had ever cooperated or ever been a source for the CIA, the FBI, or the U.S. government. That allowed the FISA to continue on unabated. And basically, yes, that is spying on a U.S. citizen. Are there times where that's necessary? Absolutely. U.S. citizens do bad things. However, the rules are different. When you're an international agent or a member of a foreign terrorist organization, there are things that we can do that we cannot do to U.S. citizens, and we especially cannot do to a presidential candidate. But that's obviously what happened. And I hope the lessons learned. I hope we pull off the Band-Aid as much as it's going to hurt. Pull off the Band-Aid, expose it, move on, put guardrails in place so that this never, ever, ever happens again.
James Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent and doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's. Also, he served as mayor of the village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York. Jim, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Take care, Dan and Amy. Always good to talk to you.
Yep, our pleasure. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you planning to remodel your kitchen, bathroom, basement, or whole home? Explore why homeowners call Forever Remodeling the remodeling machine. With over 2,000 completed projects, our expert designers, project managers, and installers work together like clockwork, delivering stunning results on time and on budget. From creative design to detailed installation, we build beautiful, functional spaces without the stress. Call Forever Remodeling today at 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com to schedule your free in-home design consultation.
That shot was